Alright guys, this is Bart with Bicycle Rider YouTube, and yes, we are getting into the e-bike market. One of the reasons I'm reviewing e-bikes and selling e-bikes out of my shop now is because I love getting people on bicycles. I just came back from the Big Gear Show, which is the industry trade show that we had, and a lot of the talk was about e-bikes. So people ask me as a veteran rider, as a bicycle racer, what I think about e-bikes. And I just have to say, I think it's positive. This gets more people on bikes and makes it fun for people to ride. There's a lot of people that, have let their fitness go downhill over the years or are getting older and just want to ride for fun and get a little boost out of it. What the e-bike does is help you get moving. I think it's great as far as revolutionizing transportation. That's going to happen. I mean, the green energy from the e-bike is here to stay. So Aventon is one of those companies that is producing quality e-bikes at a good price. And I have done a lot of research on different e-bikes. Me having a brick and mortar in a small town like Biloxi, Mississippi, I have to be really careful about what I sell out of this shop. For the longevity of the shop, I need a good reputation. I need bikes that I can sell that are quality, that if I have a problem with, that I can fix, that I have support from the factory who's making and producing these bikes. So when I've talked to the people at Aventon, they have assured me if I sell their bikes, they're going to do everything they can to help me support those bikes. Now let me throw the caveat in here right now. We're August of 2021. We're coming out of the Corona pandemic. I don't know if we're coming out, we're still in, but the Corona pandemic is definitely affecting the bicycle industry in every different way. I'm having trouble getting parts. I'm having trouble getting bikes. And I can see how it's frustrating for the consumer, especially us in the United States. We're used to getting everything we want, anytime we want, in any color we want. Well, things have changed right now. And not with just the bicycle industry, but a lot of the outdoor market. And of course, coming out of a pandemic, I think has really opened people's eyes to health, to fitness, to getting outside, to fresh air. And the e-bike really is a fun way to do that. But yes, bicycle manufacturers are having problems getting parts. But I think that the big players in the market, people like Aventon that are building a name for themselves, that are establishing themselves in the e-bike community, they're going to do everything they can. Yes, I've talked to some people that are having trouble finding, some parts for their bikes, and I'm going to do the best I can at making sure that if you buy an Aventon bike that I can service those parts, but I can only do so much where my hands are tied and I can't just make these parts myself. I'd have to rely on distributors sending me the part, and then I can install it on your bike. But I think when I'm looking at a lot of the other e-bikes that I've seen on the market that are in this price point, and this is a $1,700 e-bike that I think you get a lot of quality and a lot of styling, a lot of features for $1,700. I mean, we have name brand parts like Bafang motors. We've got name brand cells. We've got a bike that's ergonomically easy to ride and feels very solid. I'm a veteran bicycle rider. I've been in bicycles my whole life. I own a bicycle shop now. I can tell by looking and touching and feeling a bike if I'm touching a piece of junk. And this bike feels very quality. I'm not going to go into all the specs of this bike because there's some other YouTube creators that have done that. They have a website and they can tell you every piece and part of this bike. But I'm looking at this bike, I'm touching this bike, I'm riding this bike, and these are parts I recognize. This Shimano Acera derailleur. I sell that derailleur on a lot of bikes. I have for years. It's a quality derailleur. When I'm looking at the rest of these parts on this bike, I'm looking at some hydraulic disc brakes that have a good look, a good feel. I am a bicycle racer, so I'm used to touching some very expensive components. These components feel good. They seem to work good. Have I used this bike for years? Can I talk about, thousands of miles on this bike? No, but I have ridden this bike around Biloxi. I have ridden this bike up and down the beach sidewalk, and I'll be putting more miles on it. So, as you know, on Bicycle Rider YouTube, Gary and I test the products that we're reviewing. We give honest reviews that if something doesn't smell right or taste right on this bike after months of use, I'm going to let people know. So far, this bike has seemed very positive. I'm very impressed with the look, the finish, and the overall ride quality of this bike, especially for the price. At, coming in at $1,700, I think you're getting a good bike. 180 millimeter brake rotors. The bike rides good. It has a lot of nice touch points like fenders and racks and stuff that just feel good. I've noticed that this bike does not come with lights. I've seen a lot of e-bikes come with an LED light front and rear. On this bike, luckily there's a lot of good lights out on the market that don't cost a lot. So, I would consider buying a set of lights, spend, a couple $100 on a nice LED light system for this bike, because I think lights save lives out on the road. The more people that start riding these bikes, the more people understand why we need bicycle infrastructure built. So don't, really think twice when you say, why do people want a bike with a motor on it? It's because these bikes are fun, because, when you get tired of pedaling, you can get a little assistance. If your knee is hurting, it's nice to be able to hit the button and get a little assistance. So the e-bike is here to stay. Get used to it. Ride one yourself, and I bet you'll be smiling. As far as Aventon goes, I think the Level is a very stylish bike, and we will be using this bike ourselves around town. We're going to do group rides on these bikes. We'll probably do a lot of video off this bike. So we're going to do long-term things. So a lot of people ask me, how fast is it? It's a 28 mile an hour bike. It's pretty darn fast. Battery range roughly is about 40 miles per charge. It does have name brand cells and a name brand motor, so I'm not worried about that. People ask me, how much does this bike weigh? It's friggin' heavy. I'm 150 pounds, and I bet this bike is probably 60 pounds or so. So if you're going to put this bike up on a bike rack, be ready to buddy lift. But once again, you're in an under $2,000, e-bike. If you want a super light e-bike, they make some really light e-bikes out on the market, but be ready to pay, twice what this is. And I'm not saying they're not worth it. I mean, the Specialized makes some great light e-bikes. They're expensive, but they're, 30 pounds. You can get a really awesome bike. But I think for the general market, if you want to dip your toes in the water and not get a piece of junk, look at the Aventon. As time goes on and I sell these out of the bike shop and more people start riding these, I'll know what the fail points are or what the success points are, and I'll go ahead and report that back to you. So like I said, subscribe to our channel if you're interested in the Aventon e-bike. We are going to put it head to head with some of the other e-bikes out on the market. So just know this is just a quick review introducing this bike, and let you guys know that we will be riding it. We're going to do long-term tests on it, and I am going to sell these to the general public. So I'll get reviews and feedback back on these bikes, probably more than a lot of other people will, because it's not just a loaner. This is something that I'm putting my reputation on. So if they fail, I'll own up to them. If they don't fail and they succeed, well, then I picked the right bike, and you guys will be along for the whole journey. So stay tuned to Bicycle Rider YouTube for more on the Aventon e-bikes.